Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is the Deep Dive. My name is Drew Creekmer. I'm the Director of Advisory Services here at Creekmer Wealth, and joined as always by John Creekmer, our founder and senior wealth advisor. And John, we're getting to summertime here. I know folks are getting ready to travel, and I'm hearing a lot of people just talking about, man,
Mhm.
stuff's gotten so expensive. A little bit concerned about how this may impact my financial plans. We want to talk a little bit about that. But John, any travel or trips that you're looking forward to this summer here?
I'll tell you what, I was out in Washington, D.C. for about 3 days, first part of June, and had a great time out there. It's kind of at a conference actually, and the last night on the stage we had two old line Republican and two old line Democrat people on the stage. They were interviewed, so they were cordial. They disagreed. It was really kind of fun to actually be there in the room. Their names everybody would know. Was able to meet them, so that's a lot of fun. And we tacked a day on the trip there, and then we have trips going out to a bunch of different locations and then we have some family trips lined up also. It's just Stacy and I, and also our extended family. And so we like to get out and travel. We like to get out and do things on vacation and have fun, and create memories. But Drew, I've noticed in traveling, we have cost of fuel is up. We have cost of airfare is up. We have cost of food at restaurants and from grocery stores are up. Cost of lodging is up, and depending on where you go, cost of taxes could be up in all those areas. And so it's something that I think that I've recognized, I've seen, I've felt the impact of all that. I know for so many of our clients, as they're trying to actually live life, create memories, do things with family, the question really is how in the world do we do that without blowing up our entire financial plan?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important thing for all of us to be thinking about and really setting aside and planning for. And so, John, I think with us, everything that we do with all of our clients, it always
Mm.
comes back to, hey, you need to have a plan. And this is just one part of your plan, right? And there's things that are outside of our control, like the cost of fuel or the cost of food or taxes. But we can do things ahead of time to help ensure that we have a margin of safety built in. And so when you think about planning for a trip, how would you just categorize things? Like, what would be the one or two or three top things you would tell folks to be thinking about?
I think that the key word there is plan, Drew. And oftentimes, we see people that actually go through really detailed planning. So there's some phenomenal tools out there right now. And so if you've not actually started engaging with artificial intelligence, you have it all on your phones as far as on the Google, as far as AI Assist. I know Apple's got a similar tool, either on your phone, on your computers, as far as your laptops or pad devices or desktop situations. But if you just simply go in and say, hey, I'd like to plan a trip in this area and help me find it. And I would like to spend X number of dollars or so a day. I want to stay in a certain level of budget. I like to be able to do these type of things of mixing of eating out and eating inside our residence or the place that we rent. And I need some activities with a cost of X or Y. And let's have one splurge day. What does that look like? Well, then the tool would actually go in and create an itinerary for you to help you plan. And then from there, you can actually use the tools to create a budget as far as for the entire trip. So I think planning, first of all, for the trip is a critical element. Now, coming from myself, the way I like to vacation, I like to get home on Thursday night and say, Stacy, let's head down to Gulf Shores. And then we just hop in the car and get gas and then take off riding. And I'll be, do you want to turn left or right at this exit? Um, and do you want to go, how far do you want to go? Let's set a timer. We'll just stop whenever the timer goes off. And so I like to that's kind of fun, the spontaneity. But I recognize when we're doing vacation and we're actually doing it with a lot of people, it helps to have plans, but it also helps me budget whenever I have plans to stay within a right proper spending. If we just kind of flip it, we waste too much money. So
Yeah.
the planning for the trip itself is important, but Drew, also planning financially ahead of time for what you're going to budget and spend as far as in a year and looking ahead 12 months, 24, 36 months, and then starting to plan because then you want to work on structuring your investment portfolio and your cash portfolios so that dollars are available and not at risk whenever you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that second part's a really big deal. Is just having some proactive communication or proactive thought about, hey, if we're retired and we're going to utilize our investment portfolio to help us pay for this trip or this event or thing that we want to do, reaching out to your advisor, kind of walking through, hey, this is the general cost that we think we're going to have. And actually setting aside those funds. We all
Mhm.
know that sometimes the stock market can get volatile. And so if you know that, hey, we're going to do a big trip or a big cruise or something like that here in 6 months, it may make sense to get those funds set aside and actually have them outside of the market so that even if things get a little volatile in the stock market, you're not having to sell stocks while they're down to pay for that.
Mhm.
And so, like John said, that pre planning ahead of time and building the agenda, that's a great way to start. and then bring the conversation back to the financial, and have a conversation with your advisor about setting aside some funds to pay for that. So
I'll tell you
I think
what,
it's a
Drew,
great
even
time.
a little deeper than that, we have got a phenomenal tool that we use for retirement income planning. And it's called Income Lab. And so we actually have been starting to map out things like vacations and family trips. Would you want to talk a little bit about how we're seeing advisors sit down with their clients and have discussions that maybe you wouldn't normally think about having, like taking my family and my kids and grandkids all down on a rental house in 20, in 2 years down the road, how that actually is part of the retirement income plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it, right? We all know that money is really just a tool to help us go out and do things or achieve goals that we have. And of course, there's a basic level that we need to have to live our life. But for so many folks, there's other things that we really enjoy. We value quality time with our family and our kids and our grandkids, or, we really love going to this certain spot down in Mexico. And so we want to make sure we do that every year. So as part of that tool of Income Lab, that's part of our retirement income planning conversation, where we say, hey, we have a base level need. Let's make sure we solve for that. But in addition, what else do we need to do? What are the trips that we want to take, or the annual trip down to the lake in Kentucky, or what, we may need to buy a car in the next couple of years ahead. Well, let's plan out what that looks like, and let's actually project the impact on your retirement income plan and your investment portfolio. And then let's actually look into the future using some analytics to help us understand, one, can we do that? And two, does that throw us off in any way at all? And once we have a better understanding of that, well, then we're able to go down to the solutions and strategies that we're deploying inside of our investment portfolio to make adjustments to make sure we have the right rate of return, the right income coming out of our portfolio to allow us to live the life we desire. And so, I would encourage you all, of course, in the short term, be thinking about the trips you have upcoming and planning for those, but even be thinking about long term. What are the things that you love doing? What are the things that you really value spending your time and resources on? And have a conversation with your advisor if you haven't already, or even if it's been maybe a couple of years since you revisited that, have a conversation and let's actually put pen to paper and just kind of map that out. I think that's a great idea to do, John.
Yep, yep. It's not a lot of it is on things that we do, whether we like to be more spontaneous or detailed planners. We're all different in how we do things. I think when it comes to our retirement income, though, we have to change our mindset a little bit to say the planning on the micro becomes a bigger deal because it affects the dollars on the macro. And so, if you want to have stability, let's go ahead, great, and do all those things on vacation. Do all those things as far as planning for your multi generations and fun things and memories and all that kind of stuff. Let's just plan it and see how it plays out from a financial perspective so that you'll know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a bunch of great advice, Ariel. So if we said anything today that you're curious about, or maybe you just want to have some more data behind some of the things you're thinking about doing this year, reach out to your advisor. Our team loves having these conversations. It's a ton of fun. And, we also love whenever you all take trips or go and do things, send our team pictures. We love to hear from you all and see what you're out doing. That's always fun for us. And so
Mhm.
all that said, we really appreciate you guys, appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you all soon.